right, peeps. Today, we're going to discuss a very common New Year's resolution that is very common amongst LDS singles, as it is among all groups of people. But we're also going to look at a very uncommon way of approaching it. Join the Journey Radio starts right now.
Maverick to range control. Entering Point Alpha. Confirm green range.
Maverick, range control. Green range is confirmed. I don't see an event scheduled for you, sir.
Well, I'm going anyway.
Nice.
I get all excited. I'm like JoJo, the idiot circus boy with a pretty new pet.
Excellent.
No different. Only different in your mind. You must unlearn what you have learned.
Are you mocking me?
We don't want you to get ruffled. Let's just say I was agreeing with you in a totally unusual way.
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Now, do you need me to elaborate? Or can we just crack on?
And here we go.
Welcome to the infusion of positive energy into the lives of single Latter-day Saints everywhere. This is Joy in the Journey Radio.
And welcome, peeps, to another wonderful, splendid, joyous episode of Joy in the Journey Radio. I am Lance, your host for Joy in the Journey Radio, and this is episode number 421. There it is. Holistic weight loss. If you're joining the live stream today, please join the chat. Let us know where you're watching the program from. That'll help us to understand where our audience is. And if you're watching this program after the date on one of our social media channels, then please leave a comment down below the video and let us know where you're watching the program from. That will help us not only understand where our audience is, but also help with the algorithms to push our content out that we hope is helping LDS singles everywhere. So, yes, people, I've decided today we're going to talk about weight loss. It's one of those very common New Year's resolutions, and a lot of people do it. I don't think LDS singles are an exception to that general trend. So, you know, in addition to actually making the resolution, we're also like, get your typical result, which is, we get nothing. We get butt kiss. And I'm not talking about Rocky's dog. If you had Rocky's dog, that would be something. And that's saying something coming from me, because I don't really like dogs. I'm more of a cat person. I'm very much more of a cat person. Let's say it that way. So I remember one exchange I had with my former fiance. She's a real dog lover. And we were talking about dogs, and she just looked at me, exchange, and said, you know, that way, do you hear yourself when you say that word? I said, what word? You say dog. I say, what word? Dog? She said, yes, listen to the way you say it. And it sounds like sounds like you're swearing. And I looked back at her and said, maybe that's because I am. So I'm very much in the camp of the cat people. So yeah, let's get back onto that. He's such distracted. So here we go. We're going to talk about holistic weight loss, because I've actually been thinking about weight loss, especially as I get older and the excess pounds that I'm carrying on my body are affecting my health. And the older you get, the more likely it is that any excess baggage that you're carrying with you is going to influence your overall sense of health. And of course, that influences the quality of your life. And so naturally, I've been looking for, okay, so how do I put myself in a better state of health? And I've tried a lot of different things, like most people. But, as the former year was drawing to a close and the new year was dawning upon us, and I'm looking and saying, what do I want to do with myself this coming year? And I asked myself, okay, I really want to do better with this, but there's got to be a different way to approach it. What's that different way that I need to approach weight loss so that I can gain the added health that I want in my life that will help me actually enjoy life more? And so I was looking for a lot of different ideas, and I came across this article that talked about cortisol. But it was talking about cortisol in the sense of weight loss, and I'm reading it, and I'm getting fascinated with it, and it just dawned on me that most people were looking at weight loss the way I was looking at it, which is typically you focus on diet and exercise. But when you step back and you take a look at it from a systems perspective, which I could easily do because I am a reliability engineer, I said, I'm going to take a step back and look at the system. Let's look at the inputs to the system. Let's look at the outputs of the system. Let's look at the components of the system and how those components are interconnected with each other. How do they mesh? How do they play well? Taking that perspective, it became very easy to see that I wasn't getting results because I wasn't looking at the whole picture, right? I wasn't looking at everything. I was just looking at one little piece of it. Don't get me wrong, diet exercise is important, but it's not the whole picture. And so if you have like added stress in your life, you've got extra cortisol pumping into your blood, and that cortisol is going to affect your body in terms of increasing your ability to gain weight. Because when the body's stressed out, it's like, okay, something's not right here. Let's hang on, because that's all it knows. Right? Any sort of stress you place on the body, the body is just a result of evolutionary biology. The body's going to think, okay, times are good or times are bad, right? And so any kind of stress says times are bad, right? It's famine. Times are good, we can feast, it's okay, but if we're in famine times, then we need to hold on to all that, any excess fat, because we don't know how long the famine's going to last. And so I began to think about, like, okay, so we really need to look at different aspects of health in order to affect the type of weight loss that we all desire. And so I'm like, because I can't be the only one that's thinking about this stuff. There's got to be others out there. So I thought for the program this week, we would look at a more holistic view of weight loss to try to get a better handle on how we can approach this so we actually get real results. And so we're going to be looking at weight loss from a holistic perspective, meaning weight loss from multiple angles. Okay, and to help us do that, I did some research online, found a couple of articles that I think are really good. So let's see if I can bring those up here on the screen really quickly. Oh, look at you. You're beautiful. Yes, okay. So let's take a look at this. So I've got a couple of articles here. The first one is coming from the Mindvalley Blog. If you're not familiar with the work of Jim Quick, I recommend that you look him up. I don't agree with everything that he recommends, but overall, I think he puts out a lot of quality work. So we're going to look at this article here: 15 holistic weight loss strategies by Mindvalley's health and fitness experts. And if you want to examine this later on your own, I'm going to leave a link to the article there in the description to the video. So if you're watching during the live chat, just go ahead and wait for us after we post the video up to our social media channels, and you'll get the link in the description. So let's see if we can actually move this up a bit. Whoops. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, yes. Well, not quite what I wanted, but it'll work. Trying to make it easier for you guys to see what's going on. There are weight loss guides, and then there are holistic weight loss guides. The goal might be similar, to get fitter and slimmer, but the approaches are quite different. The former is typically one-size-fits-all strategy that tends to focus on diet and exercise for quick results. On the other hand, the latter is the opposite. It considers the whole person and aims for lasting health and overall well-being. And the latter is the basis of, wow, we got a typo here. Should be Mindvalley's official guide for accelerated holistic weight loss and muscle gain. What we've done is actually curated a very specific, very exclusive list of 15 ways to accelerate the weight loss process, explains Lorenzo Delano, co-founder of Mindvalley's 10X Fitness Quest. Developed by the company's Human Advancement Lab and WildFit. I love that name. The guide was originally crafted for the Mindvalley team based on the top science-based fitness principles so they can reach their ideal weight and maintain a well-toned physique. And now with access to it, you can too. First off, what is holistic weight loss? The holistic approach to health means your physical, mental, emotional, social, and spiritual health are all taken into consideration. This is what I really love about this approach, is that it's holistic, meaning we're looking at all the different elements of ourselves and how they're interconnected, because these different aspects of ourselves are interconnected. And so if you want to affect change in one area, you've got to look at how all the other areas of your life are playing with that one area, are interacting with it, so that you can make the adjustments to every area of life to achieve the results you want in the one area of life. That's the systems engineering approach to this. And that's what I love about this. It comes from the idea that all aspects of your life are interconnected. So when one is out of whack, the rest follows suit. The word holistic, after all, means to look at the bigger picture and address all areas of your life. Rather than just treating symptoms or diseases, the aim here is prevention and maintaining your health for longevity. The goals are for the long term, hence why it caters to the individual. So it may look like this: a mix of balanced nutrition, regular physical activity, and mindfulness practices based on your body type. For example, if you're overweight, you may look into practicing mindful eating, doing circuit training, and engaging in meditation or journaling. This is very much the opposite of what many of us are taught. Now, this is very significant. This is very much the opposite of what many of us are taught. Count calories, go on a restrictive diet, and spend hours at the gym. Unfortunately, with 1 in 8 people struggling with obesity, 1 in 8, right? That's like 12.5% of people struggling with obesity, which I actually think that's a pretty low figure. I think there's a lot more than 12.5% of the people, at least in this country here in the United States, that are struggling with obesity. I mean, that's just what I see when I look around. I see a lot higher percentage, a lot higher proportion of the population struggling with obesity than 12.5%. Traditional approaches are not sustainable weight loss strategies. In fact, one study reveals the odds of clinically obese men slimming down with diet and exercise alone are 1 in 210 in a given month. For women, it's 1 in 124 in a given year. So, I mean, if you do the math on that, which I got a calculator here. I got a calculator, peeps. Let's do some math. Right? So we've got 1 in 210 comes out to just a little bit less than 0.5%. That's your chances of success, right? If you're obese, the odds of clinically obese men slimming down with diet and exercise alone. So if all you do is diet and exercise, your chances of actually hitting your goal are less than 0.5% if you're a man. And if you're a woman, the chances of hitting your goal are 0.8%. So, in either case, you're not even hitting 1%. And those are your chances of success if all you do is focus on diet and nutrition, which, I mean, does it make sense now? It's like, it should make sense now. It's like, why so many of our efforts to lose weight are not succeeding? Because we're not looking at the whole picture. We're not looking at all the other elements that are playing into that one part of our life that we want to have results in. On the plus side, though, the participants managed to drop 5% of their body weight. The downside of that is they weren't able to keep it down, nor were they able to achieve their desired weight, and half of those who dropped down regained it within 2 years, with more than 78% regaining it within 5 years. So it comes back, and I've experienced this in my own life. So the whole yo-yo effect. So if you want to put an end to the yo-yo, there's a way to do it, and that's why we're looking at holistic weight loss. The bottom line, going traditional might be a thing of the past. Holistic weight loss programs will step in to do what the others could not. So let's get into the 15 parts of this guide. So what follows here is there's different parts that we're going to be looking at, and there's like 15 recommendations that the people here make. And then after that brief overview, right, then they drill in to each one of those 15 items, okay? So let's go ahead and follow along here. Part 1, food and nutrition. Training without proper nutrition doesn't get you anywhere, says Ronan Diego, a holistic health mentor and the co-founder of Mindvalley's 10X Fitness Quest. However, he adds that it's not about depriving yourself of food or adopting complex diet plans. That I like hearing that because, man, I love chicken cheeseburger. I love pizza. I love my ice cream. I love biscuits and gravy. Oh my gosh, yes. So and actually, here lately, I've actually found some success. I have lost a little bit of weight here, but it's come through depriving myself. Like, just, I'm like hungry at the end of the day and I'm just not eating. And so, because I'm just not taking in those calories, it's coming out of the fat stores around my body. And so, yeah, I am losing a little bit of weight, but man, before I went to the hospital, how long has it been now? A little more than 3 years, I think. Going hungry was just an annoyance. But after I got out of the hospital, had the whole pancreatic pain attack, got my gallbladder taken out, became introduced to a little gremlin called pulmonary embolism, which I'm still suffering from, by the way. So everything's different in my body. And now when I feel hunger, it's actually painful. It's not just an annoyance, it's painful. So the fact that I've actually had to endure pain to lose weight, to me, is just like, I don't like it. I don't like it. So this right here is right up my valley, right? However, he adds, it's not about depriving yourself or adopting complex diet plans. It's about wholesome, simple, nourishing meals. Now, this is kind of a misnomer, I think, and we'll see why. I'll explain why. It's like a complex diet plan, so you want to keep it simple. I'm all about simple, right? I got Leonard Skinner playing in my head. And be a simple kind of man, then you'll love and come to understand. Baby, be a simple kind of man. Yeah, Lord wants you to help all of us because I don't sing that well. Anywho, complex diet plans. Yeah, I have more to say about that as we get further into the article. Rather, it's about wholesome, simple, nourishing meals. And this, I think, this part right here Wholesome, simple, nourishing meals. This, I think, is key, right? If you can make meals that are wholesome for you and that are simple to access and simple to create, I think that's half your battle right there. I think that's half your battle right there. Nutrition is one of, if not the most crucial aspects of the holistic weight loss plan, and this guide includes 6 science-based principles of nutrition that will improve your health and accelerate your weight loss and muscle gain. So here's the 6. The mighty 6. Break up with sugar and carbohydrates. Now, again, he's going to go over each of these in more detail later in the article, so I'm just going to save my comments for there. But I got some serious disagreements. I break it up with sugar, like not completely, like, I'm reminded of something Brigham Young once said. He once said, and I don't know if this is like hearsay, I don't know where this comes from. This may just be hearsay, but it sounds like something he would say. Anyway, the quote is, if there's no ice cream in heaven, then I'd rather go to hell. And I'm of that mindset. Now, after I heard that, I was just like, is that why there's so many ice cream shops in Salt Lake City? Because seriously, every time I've been to that town, I see like ice cream shops around just about every corner, especially if you're like downtown. And I'm just thinking to myself, I've never seen so many ice cream shops in one place. Like the density of ice cream shops per capita. I don't know of a place that has a higher density of ice cream shops per capita than Salt Lake City. And I think it's probably because Brigham Young was an ice cream lover. I'm an ice cream lover too. So you want me to just get rid of that? I'm going to be like, yeah, well, I got a special little hole where you can put that. And it's somewhere where the sun don't shine. So that's what I think about that. But we'll get into that when we get into the details, right? So 1 is break up with sugar and carbs. 2, eat sufficient protein. 3, take fiber-rich foods. 4, stay well hydrated. 5, increase your fat burn with caffeine. 6, don't get hungry. Now, when I first read that, number 6, don't get hungry, I was like, well, duh. I'm like, what? That just seems like common sense, right? Don't get hungry. That's like telling somebody, you want to survive? Don't get dead. It's just, come on, you really need to say that? But again, we'll talk about it they got further on. So here we go. Part 2, physical activity. A slimmer waist is just a component of physical activity, among other benefits. Now, see here, I think they actually goofed up. A slimmer waist is just one benefit of physical activity. I think that's what this is meant to say. Among other benefits, it enhances your mood, your brain power, and your overall mobility. Our bodies are made to move and lift, Ronan points out. It's made for locomotion. Come on, baby, do the locomotion. It's made for play. It's for carrying and lifting. And if we don't do these things, it's like the bird that doesn't fly. The thing is, if your sole aim is to create a better body composition, you actually don't need to work out a lot. That's true. That's very true. We're going to get into that a little bit later when we talk about the exercise. But yeah, too much exercise will actually work against you because you're not giving your body time to replenish, to rest, to rebuild itself. Because the rebuilding, and that's really what you're doing, right? To achieve that better state of health, you have to move towards that better state in steps, tiny little steps. You take one little step, one little step, one little step, one little step, and you just keep baby stepping your way there. That's how it happens. But how do you take that one little baby step? Well, it's by giving your body rest, right? You tear down the muscle just a little bit past the point where, it starts to break down. And you're introducing little micro tears into your muscle. And then you have to rest and let your body build itself back up And what it does is it compensates, right? It overcompensates actually. So it'll actually build the muscle up more than what it was before, so that you can actually do more. It's actually kind of a defensive mechanism. It's like, okay, well, we're going to build ourselves up more so that if this happens again, we'll be able to handle it, right? So that's how you micro stuff that. But if you don't give your body time to rest, you're not letting it rebuild itself. And that's why too much exercise can actually work against you, because if you work out too much, you're not giving your body the time it needs to rest and rebuild itself. And it's that rebuilding that gives you those baby steps you need to take toward that better state of health. So you just need a better system for exercising. Here are 3 incredibly effective workout methods for quick weight loss and muscle gain that you can check out in this guide. So we have strength training, high intensity interval training, and work out in a fasted state. Part 3, sleep and mindfulness practices. The human brain, according to Ronan, isn't exactly wired for happiness. Rather, it's often in survival mode to keep us safe at any given instance. This is actually key to thriving in any area of life. I mean, understanding that your brain is not hardwired for thriving. It's hardwired for surviving. So if you want to thrive, you gotta short circuit the natural evolutionary biological mechanism that's there in your brain. Right? You have to make conscious choices. You have to decide. You have to have discipline and commitment. That's why, thriving is something that not a lot of people do, because most people just go with the flow, which is going with the default setting of just merely surviving. And that's why most people have lives that are mediocre at best. So if you want something that's more than that, if you want excellence, if you want greatness, if you want to thrive in your life, then you gotta short circuit that evolutionary biology that's there in your brain, and you gotta get out of survival mode and into thriving mode. So for any positive emotions to occur like happiness, you need to make conscious daily choices. Yes. For example, cultivate self-love and self-respect so you don't eat yourself to fulfillment. This right here, I mean, what they're really talking about here is emotional eating. And I actually think this problem is pretty rampant amongst LDS singles, especially the ones who aren't getting the success they want in dating, the ones who aren't seeing the progress that they want in their lives. They're not getting their lives fulfilled as far as, having that eternal companion come into their lives. So because they can't get fulfillment that way, they turn to something else for fulfillment. And for a lot of them, it's really easy to find that fulfillment in food. So I think there's a lot of emotional eating that's going on in our little community, and we need to talk about that. So I'm glad that they brought it up here. No doubt getting rest and practicing mindfulness are incredibly important, and here are the 3 most important steps we can take toward your desired body composition. 10, listen to your body. 11, sleep a minimum of 8 hours every day. 12, meditate your stress away. 13, visualize your ideal body. And I've got some nuanced disagreements with these items, but again, we'll get into that more as we get into the more detailed part of the article. Part 4, social influences. It's been said that we're like the 5 people closest to us, and it may just apply to our weight as well. Actually, it does. I mean, here they're citing a study. One study from 2007 suggests that the friends we're surrounded with literally influence our waist size. Its results found that if a person has an obese friend or family member, their chance of becoming so increases by 57%. This is totally true. And I'll tell you why it's true, right? We have this normalcy bias in our brains. When people talk about normalcy bias, they're typically talking about this inclination we have to think that everything around us is normal. We're not talking about normalcy bias here in terms of holistic weight loss. You can apply it to making any sort of positive change in your life. What I'm talking about is something rather different. Okay, I'm talking about this normalcy bias that we have in our brains, which is basically we have this great need to belong. And how do we assess belonging? We compare ourselves with the people that are around us, right? So, and because we have this desire to belong and to fit in, we look at what's normal. That's how we're assessing normal. That's what I mean by normalcy bias. We're biased toward thinking that what's around us is what's normal. And because we want to belong, we want to fit in, then once we've identified what normal actually means, then we start, slowly changing ourselves and moving towards that state of equilibrium with everyone around us so that we fit in, we belong, and we have that need inside of us satiated. That's what I mean by normalcy bias. And so if you're hanging out with a bunch of people that are overweight and you're trying to lose weight, you're basically kicking yourself in the foot. I mean, you're standing in your own way, right? It's because you're not actually looking towards you're not actually going to do what you need to do. You'll actually be suppressed. Your efforts are going to be, because you're actually going to be trying to fit into all the people that are around you that aren't the way you want. So you need to actually surround yourself with people who are actually, they have the state that you want to actually achieve in your own life. So that normal, result of evolutionary biology, again, that's where it comes from, evolutionary biology, that actually influences you to become more of that person that you really want to be. Which, as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, I mean, that's how real change is affected, right? It's based on identity. So, when we're talking about weight loss, we're really talking about is becoming healthy people. We want to adopt the identity of healthy people, which means, you need to do what healthy people do. You need to hang out with other people that are healthy. And then it's easier for you to become healthy because that gets established as the normal that you need to be biased towards, and then you start automatically making changes that move you in that direction. It's not so much that hanging out with heavier people will make you heftier. It's just that you tend to follow the crowd unless you yourself have the willpower to avoid a sedentary life. Again, this is evolutionary biology at play. In other words, if you're the smaller sized person in the room and you want to lose weight, you might just be in the wrong room. But the good thing is there are steps you can take to make healthy lifestyle changes. So here we've got the last two, steps of the 15-step program that they're getting here. So 14 is develop a buddy system. 15, seek the advice of an expert. So, okay, so that's the overview. So now, the last part of the article here talks about the actual details behind each of those 15 steps. So let's go ahead and dive into that. 15 steps to holistic weight loss. Fitness is the most you can do for optimal well-being, according to Lorenzo. Health is the minimum you need for normal functioning, and everything else that makes up this guide lies in between. Check out this video of him explaining how to use his list of 15 points to get the most out of this resource. I could play it, but then you wouldn't hear the sound because sound doesn't come through. It's just part of the way that the platform that I'm using for my live stream is organized, and I don't like it. That's why I'm looking for yet another platform. But let's get into the actual text here below. So number 1, here we go, peeps. We're going to talk about breaking up with sugar and carbs. If this is the only agreement you make with yourself, you're already halfway through the race. Sugar is the ultimate enemy, and it comes in various forms. This I have very strong disagreements with. This whole push, within the health conscious community that says sugar is toxic, sugar needs to be eliminated. I don't think that's the enemy. I don't think, because here's the thing. Sugar is actually food for your brain. This has been scientifically proven. Sugar is food for your brain. Why? You want to understand why a lot of kids are hyperactive today? Because a lot of the stuff that you find in the grocery store has sugar in it. Even stuff that you wouldn't think has sugar in it. Okay, this stuff has sugar in it too. Start reading labels and you'll see just how much of everything that's sold in the grocery store has sugar in it, right? So, you have like an excess of sugar, then you start getting all these, hyperactive kids because, I mean, their brain is on overload because sugar is food for the brain and you overloaded the brain by giving it too much. And that, I think, is the real enemy. It's not sugar that's the enemy. It's excess sugar. Excess sugar is the ultimate enemy, not sugar itself. Sugar is not toxic. It's food for the brain. Your brain actually functions very well when you feed it sugar. So the problem comes when you have too much. So moderation and balance are the keys that we need to be looking at, and not this like we're not going to get away, because I mean this is because here's the thing. Again, I go back to what I was saying before about quoting Brigham Young, who said that if there's no ice cream in heaven, I'd rather be in hell. I'd rather go to hell, and I'm totally of that mindset. I gotta have my Haagen-Dazs. I gotta have my Ben and Jerry's. I gotta have my ice cream. Life without ice cream, in many ways, I don't know if it's worth living. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, life without chocolate, especially dark chocolate. I had a discussion with a friend recently, and she was like, we had a discussion about chocolate, and I revealed that I really am a fan of dark chocolate. And this friend that I was talking with is not like a fan of dark chocolate. She's the total milk chocolate fan. So, I'm like, well, this is great. See, this is why I like you as my friend, because now I know you're not going to try to, snitch any of the dark chocolate that I have in my cabinet. I understand this now, right? Like, I'm going to have all this dark chocolate, and I'm going to worry about you snitching any of it. So we can be friends, because you're going to leave my chocolate stash alone. Sugar is the ultimate enemy. Oh, no, 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 no. I don't think life without sugar is very well living, right? Now, this next part I agree with completely. If you check the product labels in the supermarket, you will find that almost everything on the shelf has sugar or artificial sweetener in it, often the top 3 ingredients, even foods that you wouldn't even think contain sugar. That's totally true. I mean, you start reading labels and you start finding out how sugar's in, and sugar's even in a lot of like natural, whole, unprocessed foods, right? There's a lot of vegetables that have sugar in them naturally. Of course, milk naturally has sugar in it. So anything that's dairy based, cheese, ice cream, well, of course, ice cream. Ice cream has sugar from the milk, and the cream, but it also has sugar that you add to it in addition to that. And then depending upon what kind of ice cream you're making, you might add even more sugar. So, yeah, balance is the key. I'm telling you, balance is the key, right? You want to have these things in your life. It's just balance. And the balance that I think that if you want like a general rule, I think we're all a little different. So balance for one person might look different than balance for another. But I think as a general rule, it's the 80-20 rule. It's the Pareto principle, right? The so-called 80-20 rule. That's where it's going to come out, because if you make sure that what you're eating 80% of the time is wholesome, healthy, unprocessed, nutritious, healthy food, 80%, then the other 20% of the time, you can have your Haagen-Dazs binge, right? Or you eat one of those little quart size containers all in one setting. You can do that. That's okay, right? I mean, but here it's like, if you like take this like sugar is the ultimate enemy. It's like, no. Sugar is not the ultimate. It's excess. The surest bet is to eat an ancestral diet, fresh, unprocessed food. In other words, foods that look like it did when nature made it. I know there are people who they change their diet and their nutritional intake to match this here, and they swear by it. Say, oh yeah, when I got sugar out of my life, everything changed. And so, they're using that as evidence, that sugar is toxic, that sugar is the ultimate enemy. But to me, those types of experiences are only proving that, well, you don't have excess sugar, right? If you eliminate all sugar from your diet, then that means you also don't have excess sugar. And it's the excess sugar that you need to get out to get those results. So, again, I got really strong disagreements. Besides focusing on removing what's harmful from your plate, it is even more important to, right? So again, get rid of the excess sugar. Eat as many, leafy greens to your diet as you can. Cut out carbs gradually, especially bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes. Fill your plate with nutritious vegetables, meat, and eggs, and keep some healthy snacks near while you work so that you won't turn to unhealthy ones when your sugar cravings kick in. So let's go through these. Leafy greens, vegetables, people, vegetables, right? Add more vegetables to your meals. And, I found that the only way to really get sufficient nutrition from eating enough vegetables is you got to eat vegetables with every meal, including breakfast, right? And so start thinking about ways that you can incorporate vegetables into your breakfast. For me, the simplest way to do that is, one of the basic things I make for breakfast are these egg white scrambles. I do lots of things with egg whites, right? So I make scrambles. I'll put in a little bit of, some type of breakfast meat and scramble it with a bunch of vegetables. So, for example, vegetables that go well with turkey bacon include sweet potato and spinach, mushrooms. They also go well with turkey bacon. Mushrooms go well with sausage. And turkey sausage. I like turkey. I actually prefer turkey sausage because it's got less fat. So, just think about different ways that you can incorporate different types of vegetables into your breakfast. There's different kinds of breakfast casseroles you can make, and that's a good way to incorporate different kinds of vegetables. But you want to experiment and you want to actually embrace combinations that will work for you, right? So because you don't want this to be something that you're choking down all the time. You want something that actually you can actually take some joy and pleasure in, which, if you just said that to me, before I went to the hospital 3 years ago, my body changed and whatnot, I would have looked at you like you were some, alien from another world. But yeah. After I got out of the hospital, my body changed and I got out on the veggie train. So yeah, veggies, that's what this is. Cut out carbs gradually, especially bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes. Again, this is the starch thing. And essentially, having my adopted home is Idaho, which is the potato, capital of the world, pretty much. I'm not gonna diss the potato. Potatoes are wonderful and they are healthy. Okay, but again, it's just like with the sugar. The key is moderation, right? The key is moderation. You don't go excess with it. So it's the same thing with bread, rice, pasta. I think if you have a minimum amount of these items in your diet, again, it's the 80-20 rule, right? So I would put bread, rice, pasta, and potatoes inside that 20%. It's not going to be part of the 80%. It's going to be part of the 20%. As long as you keep it in moderation, I think it's perfectly fine. Fill your plate with nutritious vegetables, meat, and eggs. Keep some healthy snacks near. Yeah, this is good, right? So you're actually thinking ahead, saying, okay,
What is my evil twin self going to do to disrupt my progress toward my goal? And you can like defeat your evil self by, anticipating what's going to happen and then putting a plan in place to defeat your evil twin self. So that's all this is. At Mindvalley, we develop 7-day holistic weight loss program rooted in behavioral psychology. Conditions you in 10 minutes a day to break up with sugar for good. It's called 7 Days to Breaking Up with Sugar. Again, this is a link. So, I'll leave the link to this article in the description of the video. If you want to look at that, that's your choice. But I have no desire to break up with sugar because sugar's not toxic. It's too much sugar that's bad for you, right? So, I don't want sugar to be my lover. I want sugar to be my acquaintance. Sugar makes a fine acquaintance. Sugar makes a very poor friend and an even worse lover. So that's the relationship I want to have with sugar. And I think that is a healthy relationship to have with sugar. In terms of carbs, there are 3 levels of intake to consider if you're aiming to lose weight. Ketogenic or Wild Fit Deep Spring. By eating less than 25 grams of carbs per day. And this is what I got. Remember earlier when I talked about how they were citing, said, well, we're going to show you a simple way. If you're having to count grams of anything that you're putting into your body, let me tell you, that's not simple. Because I've tried doing that, right? Keeping track of this and that and how much. And, it's just, it's too much. It's too much. It's not simple, right? The only way to make that simple is to have somebody else do the counting for you, right? And then to give you something that says, here, this actually fits within the count. That's the only way that becomes simple, because if you're having to do it yourself, it's not simple. There's nothing simple about that, right? So, and again, like I've actually done that. So I'm speaking from experience there. So when they start talking about, the number of grams, I'm like, no, ain't nothing simple about that, bro. But anyway, less than 25 grams, you put yourself in the fat burning or keto state. So again, it's less than 25 grams. 0 is less than 25 grams, but so is 24. So, why would I divorce myself from ice cream, when I can just have just a little bit and satiate my, desire to be with, I'll call ice cream my mistress. Yeah, really an acquaintance, right? So we're not gonna be with the mistress every night. We're not gonna be with her every day. We're just gonna be with her every once in a while. And that's what it is, right? Like I don't eat ice cream every day. I eat ice cream only once in a while. That's a healthy relationship with that food product. But anyway, I mean, look at what he says here, right? So if eating less than 25 grams puts you in this ideal state, that means if you've eaten a banana or a bowl of cashews, you've already reached the limit. Bananas are like, I hardly eat bananas anymore. Seriously. I mean, because if you want to like have your sugar intake be in moderation, then you need to make sure that most of what you eat is low sugar. Like the 80% has to have, very low sugar in it. And if it has sugar at all. And the only way you're going to know that is if you start reading labels. You've got to start looking at labels, and you got to start, thinking about, what are the foods that actually are low in sugar? And most of them are like the unprocessed, natural, healthy, organic, all that stuff there. That's the stuff you need to be focusing on. Intense for sure, but extremely efficient as well. Well, of course, it's extremely efficient. You're starving your brain of food. Sugar is food for your brain. So when you starve yourself, of course, you're going to have the extremely efficient results. Duh. Low carb or Wild Fit Spring, eating between 25 and 100 grams of carbs, still supports holistic weight loss for most people.
Again, the key is, and they're admitting it right here. The key is not elimination. The key is moderation. Particularly combine that with an excellent workout routine, and then while fit summer, if you're not concerned with losing much weight, you have more flexibility, can increase your carbohydrate intake to 100 to 150 grams. And again, I've already talked about like the whole excess, concept, but there's another concept here that they're missing out on, which is the difference between simple carbohydrates and complex carbohydrates. Right? It's that sugar is a simple carbohydrate, right? It's one of the reasons why excess sugar is bad for you. Excess sugar will lead to weight gain because it's a simple carbohydrate. You eat any simple carbohydrate in excess, and you're going to have the same result as far as weight gain goes. Right? But if you make sure that the carbs that you eat are complex carbohydrates, right? And so this is, like rice can be a healthy food because it's a complex carbohydrate, but anything to excess is just not good. So you just got to be moderation with all things. 2, eat sufficient high quality protein. Protein is misunderstood and vital. It's actually not the protein we need, rather the amino acids it's made of. Proteins are complex molecules that do various biological jobs in our bodies. We eat proteins to get amino acids, and then we use those amino acids to make the proteins our bodies need. The good news for you is digesting most protein takes a lot of energy, so you may be burning more calories than you're taking in. This also means that protein has a lower risk of being converted to body fat. What does this have to do with a healthy, lean body? For starters, your goal shouldn't be to lose weight, but to lose fat, which is an important distinction. See, here they talk about, and I agree, that is an important distinction, but here they're like, they don't pick that up, right? They set that ball down, but then they don't pick it up and take it across the goal line, right? So there's no talk here about, well, okay, so how do we focus on losing fat rather than just losing weight? Because the rest of the article, talks about losing weight, not necessarily body fat. So, yeah, it's actually possible to lose fat, lose inches, gain weight all at the same time because muscle is denser than fat. Simply put, the more muscle you have relative to your body fat percentage, the better you look. It doesn't necessarily mean you lose from your overall body weight, right? Which is why it's one reason why weight is such a poor marker. The key is to combine a nutritional plan that will support both the release of fat and the building of muscle. With a workout program that will speed up that process. Protein is key to that. There are 2 ways to calculate the right protein intake to your diet. And again, when you start counting anything, it loses all simplicity. You've lost all simplicity if you just focus on counting anything. About 25% of your total calorie intake should come from protein, including everything you eat and snack on during the day. 2, you should consume approximately 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight. This means that if you weigh 25 kilograms, which is a little more than 150 pounds right now, you will need to have at least 75 grams of protein a day. If you are a vegetarian or vegan, you may find it challenging to meet this criteria. However, high protein nuts, seeds, and legumes will help you reach a good balance in your diet. That is so true because when I was recovering from being out of the hospital, my body changed radically and I couldn't eat like the way I could before I went to the hospital. And it took a while before I could get back to that point. Like it was the better part of a year. It was several months. And I just had to take slow steps. And so there was a point where, I wasn't able to eat meat, but I was able to eat softer foods like beans and rice and vegetables. And so there are options for you. If you want to go completely meatless in your life, you can still get, I'll tell you something. If I didn't have beans, lentils, these types of legumes, it's just like there's no way. There's no way I would have been able to, build any sort of muscle back, get the protein intake I needed to, improve my health. There's no way it would have happened. So it is possible. But I'm reminded of that famous line from Tommy Boy, where his father had the famous line in his sales pitch. It's like, why say no when it feels so good to say yes? And that's what I feel, when I presented with meat, especially meat like bacon. Why say no to bacon when it feels so good to say yes? So yeah, there we go. So number 3, take fiber-rich foods. Well, soluble and insoluble fiber contribute to releasing weight and developing a leaner body. Soluble fiber that includes fibers, vegetables, fruits, legumes, grains, flax seeds. They'll produce your appetite. Well, they're technically carbohydrates. They don't absorb as sugars in the digestive system. Again, you're looking at the difference between complex carbohydrate and simple carbohydrate. And a lot of these fibrous vegetables, they're not simple carbohydrates, they're complex carbohydrates. So it takes the body, that fiber takes the body more, energy to digest, which it doesn't even digest everything completely, right? It just helps it with digesting the other food that you eat to absorb the nutrition from that food. That's really, the main value of adding fiber to your diet. Helps to increase the nutritional intake from the other foods that you're eating. And that's why it helps with the weight loss, because if your body's getting the nutrition it needs, it's more likely to be in feast mode rather than famine mode. And if you're not in remember, once you get in famine mode, it hangs on to every little bit of fat you got. So you got to leave famine mode and get into feast mode. According to research, soluble fiber can enhance weight loss by decreasing the level of glucose and cholesterol in your blood, dissolves in your stomach, slows down your digestion so you can feel full for a longer period of time. Insoluble fiber, like the cellulose found in many vegetables, is another carb that's not absorbed as sugar. Instead, it turns into a jelly-like substance in your belly, supporting the natural gut bacteria that help you digest your food. Yeah. So, yeah. And again, you start putting in things like, lentils, peas, leafy greens like lettuce, cabbage, spinach is something I don't eat enough of. Kale is something that a lot of, health conscious people, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I can't do kale. I've tried it. Sorry. Not happening. Not happening. Not with this bro. Stay well hydrated. Your body needs water to make muscles. Staying consistently hydrated means that as your body works to make muscle, it will be well stocked with one of the most important ingredients, water. Ronald suggests adding some electrolytes. A pinch of pink Himalayan salt or Celtic salt is enough. Drinking water brings fluid to your bloodstream. What takes that fluid inside the cells are the electrolytes. Partially true. What's really going on here is that a lot of the cellular processes in your body are really electrochemical reactions. That's what's really going on. So most electrochemical reactions happen in solution, which means you need water, right? So if you deprive yourself of water and you're hydrated, that's less water, less solution for the electrolytic reaction to take place in, right? And of course, electrolytes are what foster that electrochemical reaction to take place, right? So sometimes they're actually reactants in the transfer, but other times they're actually catalysts. So it just depends on the specific reaction you're talking about. But in either case, you need those, I hate to say element because that has its chemical meaning, but yeah, you need these items there in your system in order for the electrochemical reaction to be promoted. So yeah, that's where the salt comes in. It's electrolyte, right? That's not the only electrolyte you can use. Potassium is another one. In addition to sodium, potassium is another one. And there's a couple others that came to my mind, and then they just left me. So this is why you don't want to get old, because you start forgetting things. Okay. Further thirst is one of the 6 core hungers that drive all of our eating decisions. Staying hydrated is a super simple holistic weight loss strategy and one that can help keep cravings at bay. 5, increase your fat burn with caffeine. I'm going to have some major disagreement with this one right here. Caffeine, we're talking about coffee and tea, not those monstrous beverages, right? So they're not talking about the souped up energy drinks that have become popular amongst a lot of young people. Yeah, they're not talking about that. They're talking about coffee and tea, which, of course, as a Latter-day Saint, who's totally committed to the word of wisdom, yeah, this is a non-starter. This is totally a non-starter. But let's see what it says. Did you know it can help promote weight loss and decrease body fat? In fact, one particular study found that when the participants doubled their caffeine intake, there was a 22% reduction in weight, 17% reduction in BMI, and a 28% reduction in body fat. Well, I got news for you, right? Like, I haven't actually looked at the study. I mean, this is a link here. So if I wanted to, I could go and take a look at the study, but I'm pretty sure that, if I were to do that, I'd come out with the conclusion that I'm making just right off the bat right now, which is it's not the caffeine that led to the weight loss, right? The caffeine got their systems up and running, right? The same way that exercise gets your system up and running, right? And so it's that movement of your system that's leading to the weight loss, not the caffeine, right? It's not the caffeine, it's the movement that's generated by the caffeine. That's what's leading to the weight loss. And so you really, if you want to promote weight loss, then I would actually focus more on the movement, right? Getting more motion into your day, more movement into your day. And, just keep the word of wisdom. That's what I would do. Coffee and tea enhance fat burning, so they say, and have a positive effect on your mood and energy. They need to be taken in mindful moderation. So here it's like, and this is the thing, it's like, so when it comes to these substances, moderation is the key, right? Moderation is what we're going to focus on. But when it comes to sugar, oh no, sugar is all toxic. Sugar is the enemy, the total enemy, the ultimate enemy. I'm like, come on, let's be consistent here, right? Moderation is the key all around. Moderation is the key all around, right? So if you're gonna type moderation here, you need to be touting it earlier when you're talking about sugar. We often consider it a socially proved addiction, but consuming caffeinated beverages daily can lead to tolerance and often dependence, which I think right there, they're just making the case to just avoid those substances altogether and keep the word of wisdom. So, balance, as always, is the magic word for managing your weight and your energy level at the same time. This right here, whoops. Let's try this again. There we go. This right here is like the key sentence in the entire article. Balance. Balance in all these different aspects, right? Balance in your nutrition, balance in exercise, balance in sleep, balance in stress management, balance all around, right? That's the key, I think, to take away from everything. In fact, if you take anything away from our live stream today, take that little concept with you. So if you're a coffee lover or even a tea lover, here are a few things you can do to release that extra energy. Exercise or do other physical activities to avoid anxiety. Get enough quality sleep so that your body can recover during the night. Go on the occasional caffeine detox to reset your tolerance level to normal. Make gradual changes in your volume of intake so you can avoid the discomfort of side effects. I think this is a list that's justifying not taking coffee or tea at all. Like, just avoid those substances altogether. Why don't you just do this stuff instead? Right? Like, keep the word of wisdom and focus on exercise, quality sleep, detoxing your body of all these other, not just caffeine, but just all these, other excess chemicals that just in a lot of the food that's sold there in the grocery store. Making gradual changes to your diet so that it can be, better incorporated into your lifestyle. I mean, these are the things you should be doing instead of drinking coffee or tea, right? So, that's just my take, because, hey, like I said, I'm committed to the word of wisdom. One more note to add: get coffee from sources you trust. Well, I don't drink coffee, so yeah. I'm going to file your note there in my circular file. 6, don't get hungry. Well, duh. Well, let's see what they're talking about here. Hunger is effectively scarcity. When the body feels scarce, it will be reluctant to spend any energy on building additional muscle mass. Worse, it will send out emergency messages to eat. This is famine mode, people. When your body goes into famine mode, it hangs on to every little bit of fat that you've got in your body. Eric Edmeades, the founder of WildFit and trainer of the Mindvalley Quest with the same name, explains this as a survival mechanism. The hungrier we get, the more flexible our food rules become. Again, evolutionary biology is at work here, people. This way, as our regular food sources are limited, we would be motivated to turn to alternatives. This leads us to eat things that are convenient in the short term, even when they are detrimental in the long term. And that is something I think trips up a lot of people, right? It's like eating for convenience. And I've fallen into that trap, many times over the years. I'm sure many of you have as well. And, the only way to work with that is you just have to plan ahead. You have to plan ahead and make sure that the things you should be eating are convenient for you to get in those moments when you need convenient eating. That's the only thing I've found that's actually worked for me. So if you have something that's worked for you, I'd love to hear about it. Put it in the chat or leave a comment down below the video. But yeah, that's the only thing that's worked for me, is to plan ahead. By avoiding hunger and having healthy snacks around, we can tell our bodies it is safe to release excess weight and build healthy muscle. In other words, you got to keep yourself in feast mode. You got to put enough nutrition into your body so that your body's thinking, okay, there's lots here. We don't need to store the excess. We can let it go. Because otherwise, it's going to hang on to it. 7, strength training. Strength training will be a priority because of the cascade effect that it has, explains Ronan in Mindvalley's 10x Fitness Quest. He adds, it not only helps build muscle mass, but other benefits, including improving the way your body metabolizes sugar and helping your bone structure become stronger and more dense. This is important for everyone, especially at an older age. That's very true, right? There's been studies that show strength training can actually turn back the tide on osteoporosis. So, and I could actually, sarcopenia, I think, is another thing that strength training turns the clock back on. For those who don't know, sarcopenia is basically you lose, 1% muscle mass every year you age. And so as you get older, losing that extra muscle just from aging can be significant. So, the way to reverse that is by strength training. Train your body to say, hey, we actually need this muscle. Don't lose it. Hang on to it. We're going to need this. So that's where the strength training comes in. And of course, the more muscle mass you have, the higher your metabolism, the easier it is to actually burn off those excess calories that you're carrying around in the form of fat. So, yeah. But other benefits include improving the way your body metabolizes sugar. Well, why would that be a benefit? If I'm going to divorce sugar and get rid of all the sugar in my life and break up completely with sugar, why would having a better way, a more effective metabolism of sugar in my body be a benefit? Again, there's just so much inconsistency here. And, Jim Quick's name's not on this. I think if it were, it'd be very, very different. This article would be reading very, very different, right? If his name were on it, but it's not. And, we've even found some typos in this. I'm just kind of wondering, who put this together? I wonder if this is an AI article. How many of you think this is AI? If you think this is AI, light up the chat, right? Tell us. Yes, you think it's AI. No, you don't think it's AI. And, if you're watching this after the fact, just put it in the comments, if you think this is AI. So I think, yes, I think this is AI. If you don't think, you say, no, I don't think this is AI. And let's just see what people think. Helping your bone structure become stronger and more dense. Well, that is an actual benefit. This is important for everyone, especially at older age. And Carl DeWitt, a Mindvalley member from Johannesburg, South Africa, knows this well. Quote, as I am 60 years old, it is important to do strength training. The biggest surprise I got was my blood pressure kept coming down and now quite normal. High blood pressure is dangerous. I was struggling to get it to a healthy level. My biggest win is that I feel so good with a fitter and healthier body. Yeah, I mean, that's where it is, peeps. When I get to that healthier state. Research has shown that lifting heavier weights increases your basal metabolic rate, and your body will continue burning fat for several days after your exercise is over. This also means you don't need to go to the gym every day. Again, you don't want to be overtraining yourself because that just defeats you, right? Go once or twice a week and push yourself beyond your limits. 8, high-intensity interval training. Single biggest myth in the health and fitness industry is that the more you work out, the more weight you lose. This might sound shocking, but increasing the time you spend on exercise won't get you better results, right? And again, this goes back to what I was saying previously about how you need time for your body to rest, recover, rebuild. The hourly rates of gyms and the way we structure our calendars fooled us into thinking we were supposed to exercise for 60 minutes. This is fine if you want to do some physical activity for fun, but not if you want to get into better shape. It works out can last as little as 4 minutes, up to a maximum of half an hour. They've been proven repeatedly to be more efficient than low-intensity, steady-state cardio, aka traditional exercise plans. And it's just all about, squeezing that benefit into a little bit of time. So if you're time crunched, this high-intensity interval training is something to take a look at. I've always found HIIT hard to do because, I've got exercise-induced asthma, and it's really hard for me. And now where I've got that extra propensity toward pulmonary embolism, which I'm dealing with, I just really find it difficult to incorporate this. But, I do what I can in the place where I'm at. So I may not be, able to do HIIT on a regular basis, but that doesn't stop me from going out and taking a walk. And, it doesn't. So I do what I can in the place where I'm at. In a study conducted by the University of Western Ontario, they found that people lost more fat doing 4 to 6 30-second sprints with 4-minute rest periods and 60 minutes of incline treadmill walking. I believe that. I haven't looked at the study, but I'll believe that that's the way that is. So if time has been preventing you from hitting the gym, this is good news for you. Start with a 4-minute daily full body workout. Refine it as you go. These 4 minutes can increase your metabolic rate, lasting up to 24 hours until you get ready for the next seat. Right? I think this is another key part here. Just start. Do something. Right? We get into this perfection analysis paralysis where if it's not perfect, then we start analyzing, how can we have something that substitutes for perfect, and we start analyzing things to death, and we don't get anything done. We're not actually making movement toward that better state of health that will help us thrive in our single years, or in any years of life, really, rather. So, just start. Pick something and just start with it and refine it as you go. Right? Make adjustments as you go. This, I think, is much, much more effective. So, start in the place where you are, do what you can, and then, just adjust as you move along. 9, work out in a fasted state. Intermittent fasting is often used as a restrictive practice to lose weight, but actually it is a practice of integrating and transforming body and mind. What's great about it is it has a bunch of benefits that can help with your weight loss goals. When you exercise with your insulin at a baseline level, your body's able to burn more fat during your workout than when your insulin level is high. And there's actually some science behind that, right? If you've got too much insulin in your blood, that it actually encourages your cells to hold on to fat. So there's actually some science behind that. After you finish your meal, it normally takes 2 to 6 hours for your insulin level to drop again, but it also depends on the type of food you eat and your hormone level in general. So, yeah. Again, complex carbs versus simple carbs. Avoid food for a few hours before working out. Your weight loss speed will go up. I think this is one of the reasons why a lot of people see a lot of good results if they work out first thing in the morning before breakfast, because they're in that fasted state. So that may be something to take into account and consider. You might be able to maintain the same physical intensity for as long as you could with a fed belly. Shouldn't be a problem if you stick to your high intensity interval training. Only risk involved in working out in fasted states, potential muscle damage. If you're working out with heavy weights after a long fasting period, you can consider taking HMB, which is a supplement that prevents muscle breakdown. I think you need to, talk to a nutritionist or a doctor about that. I'm not going to make any comment there because I'm neither a nutritionist nor a medical doctor. 10, listen to your body. That's really good advice. When you wake up in the morning, it's likely your body feels stiff from not having much movement during the night. Oh, that feeling of stiffness gets more pronounced as you get older, trust me. So Ronan suggests this. Ask your body, what do you need at the start of the day? How do you need to begin the day? You need to begin by moving around. I've actually found that's helpful. If the first thing you do when you get out of bed is actually move around a bit, I've actually found that actually helps me to move around more during the day. I'm not as stiff during the day. But, if I don't do that, and I just let that stiffness kind of settle in, then what happens is I'm stiff the whole rest of the day. Well, I'm always stiff because I'm old, but I find I'm more stiff if I just let the stiffness settle in at the beginning of the day than if I get up and move around. I'm not as stiff, let's put it that way, if I get up and move around. So I just think that's just a good habit to get into. This allows you to tune inward, hear a few things. Stretching, yoga under the sun, a little 2-in-1 where you get movement and beneficial vitamin D. Breath work, meditation, journaling. By doing this, you see that your mind will be better throughout the day, your mood will be better throughout the day, you'll be more connected with your body and all the good stuff that comes with it. I got no issues with that. Sleep a minimum of 8 hours every day. There's a reason why experts stress the importance of getting your beauty sleep. It helps with maintaining a healthy weight and body composition. When you sleep, your body completely shifts from the fight or flight state of our everyday hassles to a rest and digest state. It is when you give rest to your body that you digest most of your food intake and build muscle. And again, you want to reach that, baby step your way to that healthier state. This is the way to do it, right? You have to give your body time to recharge and rebuild itself. And a lot of that rebuilding happens while you're asleep, right? That's part of what sleep is. It's that time your body takes to rebuild itself and recharge yourself for another day. So, yeah, you don't want to skimp on that time. Scientists found that when participants in the study had less than 7 hours of quality sleep during the night, they started gaining weight. Lack of sleep for an excessive period of time also increased the chance of obesity for children, 89%, and for adults, 55%. So, yeah, again, it's all interconnected. So, if you've been struggling with weight loss and you don't have good sleep habits, I would suggest you start looking at that sleep habit, right? And improving on your sleep. What's more, poor sleep habits also increase your appetite, cause you to make more impulse decisions, including those responding to your cravings. All in all, the less quality sleep you get, the more weight you gain. The more weight you gain, the harder it is for you to sleep, which can turn into a vicious cycle. The more weight you gain, the harder it is for you to sleep. I got questions about that one. I'm not completely convinced on that one. Because, I got a lot of excess. I got a little excess food storage that I'm carrying around with me everywhere I go. And I've found that as I focused on developing better sleep habits, that I get better sleep, right? So I don't know if I would say it's harder for me to get sleep just because I weigh more. That's not computing. That's not matching up with my actual experience. So yeah, I'm gonna dispute that statement right there. It doesn't really match my experience, right? The best way to prevent this, here are a few things you can do. Now these things that he sets out here are actually good. Establish a bedtime routine for healthy sleep. Set a reminder for an hour before your planned time for sleeping. Eliminate all digital devices and strong light from your environment. Invest in a comfortable pillow and dark curtains. So, in essence, what you're doing is you've got different actions that you're taking to promote better sleep. Um, getting up at the same time every day and going to bed at the same time every day, establishing that circadian rhythm in your body. That's extremely helpful for better sleep. Set a reminder an hour for your planned time for sleeping. That's actually a good idea because I found myself just going off and just staying up late unintentionally because I get wrapped up in something. Sometimes it's something productive, sometimes it's something very unproductive. So, setting that reminder to say, hey, you made a commitment, you got to go to bed at a certain time, so you can get up at a certain time the next day. Yeah, that helps with that commitment to keep that standard set schedule. And keeping that set schedule helps you to have better sleep. Eliminate all digital devices and strong light from your environment. Peeps, and I actually experienced this in my life, right? Like, I used to turn my phone off when I went to bed. And then, I started just like somebody would actually like text me in the middle of the night and need something. And then, the next day I'd forget to turn it on. So, yeah, I started leaving my phone on, but I don't have it anywhere near me. Like I keep it away from me. Like it's in a different part of the room. And it's nowhere near where I'm, in that reclined position. It's nowhere near me. Right? I know some people sleep with it under their pillow, and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? Get that thing away from you. Um, so yeah, eliminate that. In addition, I do turn off the router on my internet. I have actually found that I sleep better if my internet router is turned off and not emanating, that, electromagnetic signal uh, that connects me to the internet when I'm on my computer. Of course, my computer is completely shut off, but I also shut off the internet router. And I found that the nights when I leave the router on, I don't sleep as well as the nights when I turn it off. So I've gotten in the habit of turning off my internet router, just completely cut it out. That's true. And then of course, the strong light from your environment. If you're dealing like staring at your computer screen, you got all that blue light coming out of it, and that does help with the if you want to get like poor sleep, just get more of that light into your eyes just before you try to close them and then go to sleep. You know, I found, great success, at least a half hour. Um, if I can just get rid of all those electronic screens and just, not be staring at any of that light that's coming out of those screens for at least 30 minutes before I go to bed, um, I found that I actually do sleep a lot better. And a good thing to do to fill that 30 minutes, there's a couple of great activities. One, actually keep a handwritten journal, right? The actual process of handwriting your words in the journal actually helps with the benefit of having a journal. It actually magnifies the benefits of having a journal. And you just have to experience that to see that for yourself. And the other thing is reading. Like a lot of people, I mean, they don't read anymore. They listen to audiobooks or, um, they're reading an electronic book on a screen. Well, I'm going to encourage you to just pick up a physical copy of a book and go with that because, yeah, I actually found that, the nights when, I'm watching something and then I turn it off and then go to bed, I don't sleep as well as the nights when I turn off whatever it is, whatever screens I'm looking at, turn off all my screens, phone, computer, the whole bit, and pick up a physical book and read for a little bit. Not only does that help me sleep better, but it helps promote my reading goals. And of course, leaders are readers. You want to get more out of the mental, intellectual side of life and actually improve yourself there, then yeah, you want to get on the reading train. And I found the best way to do that is just, you know, take in, say, like 30 minutes before you go to bed. You've written in your journal and then you pick up a book and you just start reading for a while. And I've actually found there are nights when I actually sleep less because I was staying up reading, and the quality of the sleep, even though it was less in duration, the quality of the sleep was higher than if I would have just, foregone the reading and just focused on the sleeping. So I recommend that to every one of you out there. Like, pick up a book, a physical book, and start reading. That'll help with your sleep, which will then help with your weight loss. And invest in a comfortable pillow. Just make yourself comfortable, people. Make yourself comfortable. Take this, opportunity to rebuild your body seriously. Addition, relaxing herbal tea blends and magnesium as a supplement can also contribute to good night's sleep without any side effects. I've heard mixed stories about all this stuff, so I'm just going to say just do what you think is best for you. You can try stuff like this if you want, but I just say, if it works for you, great, and if not, move on. 12, meditate your stress away. This is something that I've actually been looking into because next week on Join the Journey Radio, we're going to be looking at this little book here. Get this here. So we're going to be looking at this book right here. And you notice it's got that cover because I did get it from the library. Part of being in the financial position that I'm in. But this book right here, Stress Less, Accomplish More by Emily Fletcher. I've actually got this as part of, the plan that I'm putting together to develop a more holistic approach to my weight loss. And so we're going to be talking about this next week. Book Club makes a return to Join the Journey Radio next week. So if you want to join us in for the conversation, go ahead, pick up a copy of the book and start reading it. Get you some better sleep. And when you come in to Join the Journey Radio next week, we can join the conversation about adding meditation into this holistic approach, not just to weight loss, but just to, thriving in life. So while meditation is really associated with nutrition, exercise, this might be one of the most transformative habits for a holistic weight loss program. The thing is, stress is one of the main contributors to weight gain. What is the best solution for long-lasting stress release? Meditation. I think there's different ways to manage stress, but certainly there are meditation practices that can help with this, which is, why I'm looking into it. Decreases the level of the stress hormone called cortisol in your body. And this is this thing I was getting to at the very beginning of the program, which started me on this whole holistic weight loss deal, right? So, more cortisol affects your insulin sensitivity, thus your metabolism. Same time, it prevents you from stress eating as well. So, there's all these different things that are interacting and at play. So you got to look at all of them. You need a holistic approach to weight loss to really succeed. You stop and listen inward. Your mind is able to reflect on what you really need, allows you to work on your self-compassion. So you can appreciate your weight loss progress instead of putting yourself down at every single step. But with mindfulness, especially in meditation, it's all about making it a habit. Here they have a link for, another free product they're offering. And again, I'll leave the link for this blog post there in the description. So if you want to look at that, feel free. 13, visualize your ideal body. 2008, researchers conducted an experiment on hotel maids and asked them how much they exercised. Even though these women did heavy physical activity on a daily basis, some of them said that they didn't exercise at all, only because they were not aware of it. How can you not be aware of it? What does that mean? Like they were not aware of it. Like I don't know what they're trying to say here. I'm confused. After some of these women were reminded of the fact that they live an active lifestyle, the results were astounding. Within a month, the maids were educated about the effects of their work, lost weight, decreased their waist to hip ratio, even their blood pressure dropped. I mean, the only thing that I can think they're trying to say is that they weren't being mindful of what they were doing while they were doing it. And that lack of mindfulness inhibited their weight loss. That's what I think they're saying here. This is just one of the experiments proving that our consciousness can even shape the way we look. Visualizing your muscles working hard during your exercise routine can multiply your results. In addition to that, ask yourself the question, what kind of person do I need to become to reach that optimal body composition? Well, this isn't something that I actually thought about, but they bring it up. It's like, okay, well, I need to consider this, like this whole mindfulness approach to things. I'm willing to try it. I mean, the worst that could happen is it doesn't work, in which case I just scrap it and move on. Is it about planning a more nourishing diet, staying confidently no to temptations, or sticking to a workout schedule? Is there an emotional block you need to overcome? Visualize yourself having all these achieved and developing the mindset that will get you closer to your ideal shape. Once you think like the person with your desired look and take action accordingly, that extra weight will melt away. This, I think, goes back to what we were saying, back at the start of the year. Actually, I think it was the last program of last year. We're talking about how all positive change is based on identity. So if you do what you do because you want to adopt the identity of being a healthy person, and this is what healthy people do, and that's why I'm doing it, because I want to be a healthy person, I think that's really what they're getting at here. You need to think the way healthy people think. You need to say the things healthy people say. You need to do the things healthy people do. This is what helps you to adopt that identity of being a healthy person. And then eventually, your body gets in line, starts losing the weight because you're a healthy person. 14, develop a buddy system. If you want to improve yourself, seek out those who are more knowledgeable than you. For example, if you want to learn to run faster, you'd likely ask a track and field coach or someone who runs for a living. It's like what Warren Buffett says, I learned that it pays to hang around with people better than you are because you will float upward a little bit. If you hang around with people that behave worse than you, pretty soon you'll start sliding down the pole. It just works that way. Again, this is that normalcy bias that I was talking about earlier, where, it's the evolutionary biology that just, has put that into us. And so we have this tendency to look around, see what's normal, and then we go to develop equilibrium with that so that we can be accepted. It's no different with weight loss. Start hanging out with those who are a few sizes smaller than you. Find a community that prioritizes holistic weight loss. Observe what they are doing differently as a part of their lifestyle and try to adopt a few good habits. In other words, look at the people who you want to be and then just do the things that they do. Think the way they think. Say the things they say. That's really what it is. Just adopt their identity. One other thing you can do is partner with an accountability buddy or with someone willing to train with you and discuss your weekly progress together. This, based on a 2005 study from Brown Medical School and Dartmouth University, can help increase your chances of weight loss success. That accountability thing, that's a psychology thing. That's totally true. That's something to consider putting in your program if you haven't done so already. And then last on the list, number 15, seek the advice of an expert. Nowadays, it's easier to find a personal trainer or dietitian than the right sports shoes. If you don't have the time to do the necessary research, tracking, goal setting, you're serious about getting fit, hiring a coach may be a good option for you. In other words, you're outsourcing a lot of that stuff you can do yourself to somebody else. The benefit is that it frees up your time, and it also gives you a sense of accountability. That's the benefit of doing what they're saying here. Remember, learning without implementation won't get you the results you desire. Start taking the first steps towards your ideal weight and body composition now. Track your daily commitments. The more you work your way down the list, the sooner you will see your desired outcome. Right? So here we got some trainers for their program. And then some final words, future-proof your well-being. The goal of a well-functioning body isn't so much to be a hashtag on social media or show off those ripped abs at the beach. Well, it shouldn't anyway. When you get to the root of having a healthy body is to be able to live life, right? This is all about thriving, not just surviving. As Ronan Diego says, we have a body so we can have a human experience, right? You want to maximize the joy you get in life, then yeah, be looking at holistic approach to living. So now the rest of this is just basically a sales pitch for their class. So we don't need to go into that. And wow, looking at the clock, gotta really with the distance with that. So yeah. I'm going to leave the link for that in the description down below if you want to take a look at it. And then we had that other article to look at, but man, I'm looking at the time and it's just like we spent so much time with that. I'm just thinking, yeah, let's just let's call that good. Right. I'll leave a link to that other article that we were going to look at. I didn't think this would take so long. I will leave a link to that other article so you can look at it if you want. I think it had, some basically good, not as detailed points as the Mindvalley blog, but had some good things to consider, I think, as well. So so we'll actually we'll call it quit there, peeps. But at the end of the day, it's like, everything's interconnected. So it's not just about weight loss. It's about any positive change you want to make in your life. I think having this holistic approach where we look at ourselves as a system of different components. There's different aspects to ourselves, and paying attention to the influence each of those different aspects has on the change that we're trying to make in our lives, the new identity that we're trying to adopt, so that we can thrive in our single years and not just survive. I think that's where, that's where more joy in our journey can be had. So, let's go do those things. Let's take that holistic approach. Let's actually start to thrive in our single lives and not just survive, right? Because like I said, when we do that will add more joy to our journey. Well, peeps, that's all we got here for Join the Journey Radio this week. Thank you all for paying attention. Let's go check out the chat. And I didn't see anybody leaving anything in the chat, so yeah, that's easy. If you do have a comment about what we discussed today, please, leave it down below the video. If you have something that you'd like us to address in a future episode of Join the Journey Radio, we're happy to help with that. Please leave a comment down below. If there's something we can do to help you overcome the challenges of LDS singles life, then yes, you got it. Leave a comment down below. You can also go to our contact page at our website, jointhejourneyradio.com. And so you go to the website. That's where you go to join the live stream. By the way, if you're interested in joining us here, just go to our website, jointhejourneyradio.com. You can watch the live stream, participate in the chat, and you can also go to the contact page and send us a message. So if you're shy and introverted, you don't really want the world to read what you say to us, then yes, we love you too. Go to our website, to our contact page, and you can send us a message there that way. So again, that's all we've got for this episode of Join the Journey Radio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share our content so that we can, get those algorithms to push our content out to more Latter-day Saint singles and help Latter-day Saint singles everywhere. So until next time, this is your host reminding you there is joy to be had all along our journey. So take that joy and journey on.
You and I have witnessed many things, but nothing as bodacious as what just happened.
Check it out. Look at I'm in really bad shape. Come on, please, please.
Bob.
Give me. I need.
My God, pull yourself together!
I get to lay in a bed by myself all of my life. It's fantastic.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
Wait till I get going.
Where was I?
Suck it!
Bye-bye, boys.
Have fun storming the castle.
Think it'll work?
It would take a miracle.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, we did it. We did it. Come on. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some. Give me some of that. Yeah. Woohoo! I will see you cats on the flip-flop later.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.